With current Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg's term coming up this October, NATO is set to determine who is going to become the new head of the alliance. The threat posed to the global order makes NATO stand as one of the only shields of the Western world. The decision to appoint a new Secretary General can seriously impact the power balance, and thus will be of the highest strategic importance. Many potential candidates were named, and yet one stands out from the rest. Meet Mark Rutte, the Dutch ex-Prime Minister who served for long 13 years as the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, and through diplomatic skill and ability to emerge clean from various scandals, earned himself the nickname Teflon Mark. Rutte was born in The Hague into a family of a former Dutch merchant who had sought his fortune in Indonesia, a former Dutch colony, but returned home impoverished. Rutte's childhood was far from luxurious and may have contributed to him being uninterested in material possessions later in life. He graduated from Leiden University and went on to pursue a career in the business world, working for Unilever. Despite having a successful professional career, Rutte was constantly involved in politics as a member of the national board of the VVD party. This allowed him to make a transition and become a member of parliament in 2003. Moving up the political ranks, he first became Prime Minister in 2010, and since then remained in his position until 2023. He became known for his humble behavior and habits. He is regularly seen on the streets cycling to work or driving his relatively cheap car year after year. He spends his time at the same cafe every weekend, visits the same barber, and even tends to order the same meal at his favorite restaurant. People who work closely with him say that when he visits Brussels, Rutte doesn't just stay in the same hotel, he books the same room. However, down-to-earth behavior is not the only thing that makes Rutte stand out in the political world. Like any long-serving political leader, Rutte's time in office has been marked by crisis and scandal, but each episode has seen him dance away unscathed. In his tenure of 13 years, many around him have risen and fallen, but it is only Rutte who managed to maintain his support, no matter the circumstance. Observers say that Rutte has a superpower for detecting shifts in public sentiment and for adjusting his own views accordingly. As an example, some point to how Rutte initially defended the holiday tradition of Black Pete, in which children and adults dress up in blackface as something out of his control, only to turn against it last year and acknowledge the hurt of racism and discrimination. The country's affection for Rutte has led to a rare campaign in the Netherlands built around personality, rather than party or policy. And close associates say that Rutte, over the years, has come to pay more attention to his image. Rutte's main philosophy is meeveren. Go with the flow and let time do its work. He is a manager, not a visionary leader. Rutte himself likes to quote a saying of former German Chancellor Helmut Schmidt about politicians. People with visions should see a doctor. Lacking any great ideology, he manages to work with almost anyone. A huge advantage of Rutte, if he is to become a new NATO leader, is his proven record of working with Donald Trump. The future possibility of the second Trump term terrifies many. It will create a serious risk of collapse of the whole Western security system, as well as the coalition supporting Ukraine. Recently, Trump has sparked outrage in Europe, saying that if re-elected in November, he would not defend NATO allies who fail to spend enough on defense.
If we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay.
One man who can talk sense into an American madman is Mark Rutte. He has already done that back in July 2018, when Trump went on his typical tirade warning that the United States would go its own way if other countries didn't start spending more on their militaries. The situation was tense, and according to reports, it was Rutte who reassured the US president that spending had already gone up and will continue to increase in the future. Thus, a decision to appoint Rutte might be strategically advantageous for NATO if Trump is to become the next US president. Nonetheless, Rutte's ability to continuously maneuver around critical political issues seems to have finally cracked down last year. His coalition in the government grew increasingly divided over immigration and asylum policies. Parties decided unanimously that they could not remain together in the coalition anymore. Immediately, Rutte offered the resignation of his government, as well as announced his departure as political leader of the VVD party. Despite the eventual political failure, Rutte remains one of the most skilled European politicians who has a proven record of bringing together people with critical differences in opinions. With the current increasing polarization in the global political arena, a NATO leader with a talent for building and maintaining unlikely alliances seems to be a truly beneficial option. As of now, the United States, Britain, France, Germany, and other 12 NATO states all backed outgoing Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte to succeed Jens Stoltenberg as the head of the alliance. NATO leaders are appointed by consensus, meaning all members must consent to a final decision. The alliance currently has 31 members, with Sweden poised to join soon. With the support from Washington, Rutte comes to a truly superior position, seriously degrading the chances of any possible opponent. Obviously, the next head of NATO will have to deal with the most pressing issue, which is ongoing Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Thankfully, Rutte is well known to be a strong supporter of Ukraine and is prepared to take a stance in front of the advancing enemy. Rutte sees a serious threat that Putin's regime poses to any democratic nation and has many times voiced his opinion on the matter. While serving as Prime Minister, Rutte was responsible for the Netherlands sending billions worth of military aid to Ukraine. In addition, Rutte's government has committed to sending 24 F-16 fighter jets somewhere later in the year. It is critical for the new Secretary General of NATO to stress the importance of improving military power balance and working towards the defeat of the global axis of evil. Currently, the one roadblock still standing in Rutte's way is Hungary, whose leader Viktor Orban has a difficult relationship with a Dutch politician. Both have clashed in the past over rule of law violations and LGBTQ rights in Hungary, with Orban accusing Rutte of hating him and his country, and Rutte daring the Hungarian strongman to leave the EU. With the need for a unanimous decision by all NATO member states, Hungary might emerge as a country that would block Rutte's appointment. In the end, Mark Rutte has several assets that might prove extremely useful for the NATO alliance, namely, his ability to effectively work with others no matter their political positioning, his strong stance on support for Ukraine, his image as Mr. Normal, and his relationship with possible future US President Donald Trump. The combination of these factors truly makes Rutte's candidacy shine above else, and will hopefully lead to the Western alliance strengthening its position in the international arena.